Hi, Dennis. First of all, thank you very much for taking the time for talking with us. I'm going to start with the obvious question. Can you still remember the first time when you heard Psychonaut, and more importantly, what was it specifically when you heard and when you realized we have to sign that band?
I can remember the first time, yeah. So I did hear of Psychonaut beforehand, but I had never really listened to them. And this is where a guy called DJ Goossens comes into the story. Massive props to him because he has kind of been the middleman between Psychonaut and Pelagic Records. There was talk of some sort of distribution deal between Psychonaut and Pelagic, and I believe he started out as an intern in Constelling Sounds, and that's probably how he met the band. But if that's not true, the band can fill in the details. Yeah, we started chatting a little bit. We'd never really met the band in person, none of us, but through emails, we kind of tried to find a compromise on how to best approach this relationship, because we all fell in love with the band immediately. The sound just fits so well to Pelagic. You can think of bands like The Ocean, but also other Pelagic bands from our roster, such as Herod and Hypnose and Saver. And we just knew we wanted to do something more than distribution, because even a band like Mastodon, for example, we don't sell that many records on a monthly basis, of even though they're massive. It just doesn't appeal much to fans if they're not directly related to Pelagic. Then they will just think, who is this band and why are they selling them on their store? So we figured we wanted to have the proper deal, singles, bonus content, funny content, and a proper release of Unfold the Godman. And we did this back in March in 2020. And it's been a big success, and it's been so much fun working with the band, even though none of us has even met them in person. And it's one of our best-selling records to date of this year. And the second pressing is actually close to selling out even at this point. When I first heard the band, I was super excited about the first track, and it's still my favorite. But I remember sitting here with, at the time, Robin and Paul, the other two guys. At the time, we have a couple more people now, and everyone was excited from the start. But in particular, track 4, The Fall of Consciousness, is where everyone started getting excited, and each other's excitement made the other people more excited. So it was like a snowball effect. And to date, I think that's still the Pelagic favorite of this band. And we're really looking forward to continue working with them.
When people think about Pelagic Records, I think a lot of people immediately think about a lot of post-rock signings you have. But I think it's more diverse than that, because, for instance, when we look at the Belgian signings you guys did, you have 3 bands currently under your roster, namely Bear, Psychonaut, and also Brickville. These bands are completely different when it comes down to music, but for some reason we feel that there's probably something they have in common that makes them the perfect Pelagic Records band. Is that something you can agree on?
Definitely. Well, to get back to the post-rock thing, I don't think we go in and dig for post-rock necessarily. This is just the most common theme, because we all like post-rock. So liking a certain band's music is of course a really big factor of signing them. It's not the only one, but it's a big part. And I always saw Pelagic Records as kind of a label with a bunch of bands that have this subtle balance between post-rock and also a heavier, sludgy, post-metal-y aspect. Some bands have both, some have one, some have the other. For example, a band Spook the Horses from New Zealand, they have this very calm, atmospheric record, and then just back in August, they released a massive, sludgy masterpiece, super guttural. But to get back at the Belgian scene, Belgian side of things, so we do have these 3 bands, 2 of which we actually released this year, Bear and Psychonaut. And Brickville, we have a record that just came out, and it's fantastic too. That's their second album. and their sound specifically, we did not sign them just because we think their sound fits perfectly with Pelagic, but because it's the whole package. So for Psychonaut, we have a band that, the more I found out about them, they just seem like basically a family doing business together. They all seem like close friends. All the people involved in Psychonaut seem like good friends. Of course, I haven't met them, but it seems like it. And they're having fun in what they're doing. Bear, me and Robin saw at Complexity Fest in 2019 when they were playing the opening night alongside LLNN, another Pelagic band. And their energy was just insane. Saw them having fun throughout the whole gig. I personally didn't meet them, but Robin went to talk with him, with the guys. And of course, yeah, we were on board with them and we wanted to work with them. But of course, they have more of a hardcore mathy side that not many bands on Pelagic Records have. So in that sense, it's kind of a unique twist that we also like, because it's very out of the left field for our fans, but it's being very well received. And then Brickville, what I like the most about them is they have this strange, mystical, haunting edge to their music. In essence, it's post-metal. That's how you could say it could be defined. But they also have these grand synthesizers. There's just something to their sound that I haven't heard in other bands. And then their whole stage setup and their light shows. This is definitely a band you have to see live to get the full picture. But either way, all these Belgian bands tie in very well together, even though their sound is vastly different. And expanding on the Belgian scene makes a lot of sense for us, because we also signed a deal with Pius for distribution in Benelux, and that's been going very well. And of course, it ties in very well with having Belgian bands and French bands, which we also have quite a few of.
A question maybe for younger bands watching this. Let's say you're a younger band and you have the ambition to be on a label like Pelagic Records. What is the thing you guys are looking for? And also, let's say you get signed to Pelagic Records. What is something you really feel that you guys are really good at? What makes you stand out as a label?
Well, I think for younger bands, the thing that comes with younger bands is, of course, they're usually very eager to get out there and get their name out there and start touring as much as physically possible. So that's always a big plus for us. Of course, the biggest draw for us is the music. If we get a band submission and we don't think the music lines up with us completely, or we think it doesn't sound professional or perfect enough, we don't all agree with this band, then we generally don't do it. But then there's also a whole another aspect that is mainly the extent to which a band is professional on social media and just with PR in general. If you're a band and you feel like creating bonus content or doing fun contests or updating your social media regularly is a chore instead of a hobby, then I don't think it would work out well. We like to have bands that are very eager to stay active and also very eager to get to know more bands, because one thing that I think Pelagic makes Pelagic special is that we have a roster of bands that are all very eager not only to get their own name out there, but to hear about other bands on Pelagic. And we've been stimulating this recently a bit more as well. We see that a bunch of bands are touring together, and that's really awesome to see, that they're really into each other's music and they merge each other's fan bases and make the other bands' fan bases excited about their own music.
Do you also feel like Pelagic is something like a quality stamp?
I think it's getting to that point. Yeah, it's no longer a hobby project of Robin, the label manager, that he does on the side of the ocean. Now it's a proper full-time thing with very consistent releases every year, a lot of releases. And since we started a subscription program, we're sending out new records on a monthly basis. So even people that have no idea who a certain band is, whether they are very well known already or they're just a completely new band, they if they're subscribed, they will get this album and they will listen to it. So this also puts the name out there of very young bands that we think are amazing, and that's a really good kickstart for those bands. If we know that they can stay active and they can stay interesting, then that's awesome for a band like that to get their album out there to a bunch of people that would otherwise never have heard of it.
All right, Dennis, and then the last question, maybe the favorite one. Let's say you have all the power in the world, anything goes. What would be your bucket list band to sign on Pelagic Records?
That's a good one. I know that you would probably expect me to reach for some completely massive band that you would never be able to sign, and I don't think this would ever happen, but I know one band that everyone is super excited about, and they're on Svart Records, Oranzi Pazuzu. Everyone knows them at this point. They're from Finland. They make super weird music. They have some kind of Pink Floyd edge to them, and at the same time, they sound disgusting as hell. This is the most disgusting sounding band ever. They break out into these massive riffs. And they're also weird in the sense that they have these kind of circus sounding synthesizers. They're just the complete package for music for us. And even people that are not necessarily into metal, that would otherwise find music like this completely repelling, somehow are into it. They have a really big fan base in scenes like Roadburn, where you wouldn't maybe really expect a band like that to do well. That is my dream band to have on Pelagic for sure.
Well, I appreciate the honesty, but for some reason it doesn't feel that unrealistic. But that's why it's probably a good bucket list band.
Okay, if you're talking complete bucket list, impossible, I would go for Massive Attack. It doesn't sound like the perfect fit, but Massive Attack is another band that we all love and somehow does fit in a little bit. We have one record coming out next year that actually has a pretty cool, not really Massive Attack, but a bit of a 9 Inch Nails / Massive Attack vibe to them. Maybe 9 Inch Nails is a better answer.
You're getting there.
Now I have 3 bands on the list, but
it's all
let's
good.
Go with it.
I was. It's my fault. I was actually forcing you to give me more names, but they all sound amazing. Okay. I wish you a great day and thank you very much. And all good luck, of course, with the label.
Thank you. Likewise, wish you a good day. Bye-bye.